As the sun has set over Anaheim, so has it set over the campaigns of two of our Overwatch League playoff teams. And two more are to follow today in our lower bracket matches, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Overwatch League Playoffs. I'm Mitch Leslie, joined by Matthew Morello, presiding over, first up, a rematch. These two teams have only had, a couple of days in between the last time they played each other. And that last head-to-head was the first time this season that the Florida Mayhem was able to win a series against the Atlanta Reign, and they're here to run it back. So nice, they're gonna have to do it twice.
Yeah, it's funny that these two teams met up 2 days ago. I think I saw Noah, our stats guy on Twitter, was saying the last time our next match after this, Hangzhou versus Toronto, it was like 1,300 days between their matches. I'm excited. Look, I love elimination matches. It's sad to see people go, but this is where you see the best out of teams, I feel like. In Atlanta making a huge gamble, I would say, here, putting Gator in. We don't know how much scrim time he's had, I imagine. Just in general, right, with the game being live, he's been able to play more. We know he's a fantastic main tank player. What will it be like seeing him in the lineup today?
Yeah, been an interesting season for Gator, right? For a large amount of it, he was sort of designated as a non-functional tank, and now he's thrust into the limelight at a critical juncture for this team. The Atlanta Reign are fighting for survival after, frankly, a lackluster showing earlier on in these playoffs. The pieces are there on this team, and there's redundancy, and we've seen much of the Speedily and Venom look from this team, but as the meta has dictated, it's now about Nero, it's now about Kai, and Gator is again added to that list. Matt, he's known for a couple of tanks, right? But bringing him in a Winston situation is interesting, given that we knew that sort of Hawk was being groomed to be the tank player that kind of does it all. So I'm really interested to see what they come out with today. Let's not waste too much time. Let's get them out on the stage here. Let's start to put the microscope on the Atlanta Reign.
And like you mentioned, right, when the kind of meta shifts here going into playoffs, prior to this, the Atlanta Reign are playing, obviously, Hawk all of the time. It's really been like that since stage one. They were playing a ton of Speedily, Venom, and Vigilante, who they acquire from the Washington Justice. And with this meta swap, they've decided to kind of like change things up completely, so to speak, and now even further seeing Gator in the game. And look, we talk about Gator like, it's some kind of like crazy move they're making here. He is a fantastic player, let's be clear. We just have not seen him playing in a very long time.
I mean, much of Gator's best looks were like from Reinhardt, for example. He played a lot of Orisa for this team. Yeah. Back when obviously she deployed a shield and lent towards that bunker kind of style. We have seen Gator play Winston this season at times, and it passed the eye test, I think, by all accounts, even if the players joked about it in that very match that we were sort of playing the Winston. But yeah, this subverts our expectations. We thought that Hawk was going to be the guy, the one to play all the tanks for this team, and that's what Brad Rajani at the Reign sort of said. So now you have to wonder, why this big course correction? Do the Atlanta Reign have something else up their sleeves, right? Nero and Kai, I've seen Nero comes in here and is playing a lot of the Reaper. This is something he did a bunch for San Francisco as well, back when he was on that roster in what we coined at the time, the Zombie Comp. Very much up his alley, that Reaper pick.
Yeah, and you gotta wonder, like, is this more, instead of just the Winston pick, right, for Gator, he has more experience playing these more rush, how Scott kind of refers to it as like zombie comp style of play, right? Where, he's a main tank by heart. Traditionally, he can probably pick up that role as the tank in that type of composition pretty quick.
And now, let's bring out their opponents, running it back once more after a victorious 3-0 against this Atlanta team. It is the Florida Mayhem.
And I really like this team. I think they've been ascending really through the play-ins and whatnot. Hydron secures his spot, in this lineup about, probably a little bit through the Countdown Cup. That's kind of when we start to see, Exi moving out, Hydron being in all the time, Surma Jed being fantastic on the Kariko, and then also, having the kind of veteran experience of Animo in. I think this team has been one where, they've been trending upwards for a while now. Did not go for them in the it looks good otherwise.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Tough matchup against the Seoul Dynasty for the Florida Mayhem. But I think something that Gunba sort of said, he said, you know, if we are winning maps against teams that have had that extra time to practice, to prepare, obviously teams that didn't have to compete in the play-ins, that's pretty embarrassing for them. But I think we've established now that the Florida Mayhem have the pedigree to allow them to overcome that lack of time when it came to scrimming, when it came to preparing. I mean, Christ, they said RuPaul came in and played a map on Kiriko. I think just randomly. I don't know if they submitted the roster wrong for that or whatever, and he played really well. So it's quite clear to see that we're dealing with 5 players who are adaptable, are extremely flexible, and on the fly they can make the changes that they need to. It's a whole of a great team. The first map choice here is going to be Ilios. Now, we kind of talked about this off air, Matthew. Maybe expected to see Lijiang based on how well the Mayhem did on that map last time they played this team. But now, we'll have to see what they bring on Ilios, and it does still feel like a map that lends itself pretty well to their style.
You're a little bit more comfortable with, which is, I assume, the Ilios here. Going into the first map in the series, someone with an opportunity to play a little bit more of an aggressive Winston style of play, depending on which kind of maps and points you get here. I also think it's not the same team. You can't really kind of treat it as the same Atlanta Reign, right, with a new tank in the mix.
Absolutely. And that's why our expectations kind of need to be set for a different look team. This Atlanta Reign team, rather. Already Hydron making some intimations in the match chat. Definitely the expectation of the Florida Mayhem continue to come out strong. Atlanta had better hope that this mix-up, this last-minute change, is conducive to some more success for them. Because after the season they've had, we expect Atlanta to have gone a little bit better, a little bit earlier on in these playoffs. But the Mayhem are not a team to ever doubt. And we expect to see, Matthew, here pretty standard compositions, right? Shouldn't be any big mix-ups so far.
I would be shocked if we see some kind of like large shakeup. Maybe you see the Orisa come out. We see the Outlaws with Dante use that at times, but kind of fully expect this mirror matchup to continue to play out through a majority of the playoffs.
Okay, already Hydron gets identified as playing an off angle, and Gator wants to cut that to the quick as soon as possible, but Hydron's able to find Kai already. After repositioning, he zeroes in on the enemy Sojourn and removes him from the map, and OG fares a little better, lingering a little too long in those crosshairs himself.
Here early on, right? Because the Florida Mayhem, Hydron is so good on this Sojourn that, he starts to get rolling. It's kind of like how Kai is on the other side. When Kai gets rolling, he's so difficult to stop. You don't want to see Hydron start to pop off.
Well, so far so good for the Mayhem and Hydron here. Atlanta already back to start another fight. Majed, a little bit of an extension there. He's able to swiftly walk away to his Winston. And look at this, just Mayhem responding very well to these pros from the Atlanta Reign. Gator just gets caught amongst all of them.
Yes, I mean, really nothing that they can do to get back towards the point, right? 30% counting here for the Florida Mayhem. Death Blossom here for the Atlanta Reign, so maybe they can actually make a play for this. Is someone not close to Primal just yet?
Yeah, good opening here. We saw Hydron fall fairly early in that fight, and a successful Death Blossom there from Nero. Good way to come alive in this round, as he is accounting for 4 out of the 6 final blows from this Atlanta Reign squad. Good way to turn up and start to get some percentage on the board here for Atlanta. Of course, Kitsune rushes are now online for both these teams. Things are about to get a little hairy.
Yeah, online for both teams, but you're going to have someone with this Primal Rage and then also Animo with the Sound Barrier a little bit earlier. So I think you can play a little bit more aggressive here to take the point back if you're Florida.
Checkmate's TP to the backside here, trying to get behind this Kitsune rushes coming out. A lot of roads being paved so far, and Checkmate's going to be the first to fall. He's discovered in the backline another Primal Rage from someone, really pressuring Kai. He waits and catches the falling Kai like a damsel. And that's it for him. The Atlanta Reign now struggling as they push into the middle of the map, and someone just gets his jump online. Able to clamber back out of the pit and now look to pressure the remainder of the Atlanta Reign. They still hold the point right now, and losing Hydron here again, less than ideal.
Yeah, you see for that brief moment there from Ultraviolet. He drops that Immortality, the protection Suzu there, just keeps Gator himself and OG alive for a split second, but not good enough to win that fight. Someone incredibly able to live throughout that entire period of time, already halfway up to another Primal Rage. You kind of just see how awesome he is on that Winston, but also I think kind of like one of the new breed or potential new breeds of tanks as we see moving forward in Overwatch 2, right? A tank that can truly play everything.
He's only got 1 death so far. 3 final blows to his name. And to compare, I mean, Gator has 3 deaths. I mean, Gator is getting picked on pretty badly by the Mayhem when he tries to engage. Speaking of which, that's happening right now. Bubble going to be thrown down here by someone, but Hydron has this safe pocket to play in with a fully charged rail. He's in a pretty decent spot, and Gator realizes that, oh no! The slide gets interrupted by Hydron! He can't believe it!
Oh, you could see on his face, he was absolutely stunned, as that's where he ended up. As still have players here from Florida who are going to be able to contest. You just got to get this up to like that 90, 95%. Oh, they actually get pushed back off the point. You see Animo and a few others still here.
He's able to lock Nero into the pit somehow. I mean, OG tried to give him the same kind of send-off, but he's able to clamber out naturally. Hydron was actually booped into the pit by OG there. That's what happened. Kitsune Rush now comes out straight away from both sides here. The Mayhem trying to use it to engage. Someone for the Primal Rage looking for Kai at the moment. Sound barrier now expiring off the Atlanta Rain. Someone wants to try and track his quarry, but there are 5 people turning towards him. He has to go for the Mega Health Pack and double back now. Checkmate has a Death Blossom, but he's a little exposed in this position, and Nero's going to go for it. Hydron gets riddled with bullets here. Checkmate wants to reciprocate. He's found Ultraviolet, but that's all he's going to have. The Atlanta Rain up to 93 and counting, and the Mayhem decimated.
Yeah, as you see it, Mayhem, they're going to go with some desperation picks here towards the end. The Doom, the Tracer, but it doesn't matter. Not able to get a touch. Where the Atlanta Rain take round number 1.
Nero has an unbelievable round, Matthew. 9 final blows, 2 deaths out of a total kills of 16 for his team. His Reaper really on another level early. A lot of pressure being put down on the Mayhem, especially someone who could see trying to play aggressively, trying to look for Kai, and is getting thwarted by Nero multiple times.
And Atlanta's got to be such a scary team to play against, especially in this type of scenario. We can take a look from Ultraviolet. Yeah, that's beautiful. The protection there right on to Nero. He's able to pick up a few kills, then just use the Wraith to just back up away from Checkmate. Really nice sequence there.
Someone locks himself inside a lethal snow dome with Nero to try and prevent that damage, but it was already too late.
And do you get a vibe, Mitch, right? Like, you know, putting Gator in, I thought Gator looked, you know, good there on the Winston to kick things off. It's also like, Atlanta is just a scary team in these, you know, lose and go home scenarios, right? It seems like they always, you know, pick up their play in moments like this, where they're not going to be, it's like almost like Florida 3-0ing them the other day just gives them like a little bit of false confidence going into this series. It'll be the same thing, where I think it's a much different team they're playing today.
They love to be doubted. They love to be underdogs. They thrive on that negative energy, and you can see it because they kind of invite it a lot of the time, Matthew. Kai to the high ground invites company of Winston right now, and someone will break on in there and remove him from the equation. Hydron now can get a bit more aggressive, not worry about being picked off at the top. Nothing across the map. Frustrating, healing overclock there from OG. He's able to bring him down eventually. Gator looks to be on the way out here as neither team is capped early. It will be Florida who start with the lead.
Yeah, which is pretty similar to what we just saw in that previous round, on Wells. So Atlanta will have to, bounce back. You see Gator making an actual, really strong attempt constantly to just get in Hydron's face. Put that bubble down, block the line of sight, force the Sojourn off of those positions up on the high ground.
Getting close to Kitsune Rush here for Ultraviolet. He's going to be ahead, but they've lost Kai already. Checkmate is able to isolate that key target. And now the Rain look a little bit, embarrassed with 4 players that have to make their way through the left-hand side. They'll throw Kitsune Rush down. That's going to help Ultraviolet's healing output and, of course, that haste buff. Nero is looking to make good use of it, but it's a disengage by the Mayhem and the Sound Barrier defensively. The Rain uses a little bit later now when they actually have to fight. The Mayhem are behind in their durability count, but they have point control. Looks like the Rain are backing away from that Kitsune Rush.
Yes, Kai's got an overclock though, so maybe right after this Primal Rage, you'll start to see the Atlanta Rain press forward as you see someone Animo getting both real low.
Oh my goodness, it takes 2 to tango, they say, but I think Nero had the right idea there. Checkmate just throws himself into that one. Both Reapers went into Raid 4. We knew that was coming. Pretty messy fight so far, but the Rain are able to cap it in the background despite having lost Kai again.
Yeah, and you can kind of see when Florida was, deep and engaged in that fight, right? And someone is using Primal, the Sound Barrier and the Casino Rush is worn off. Like, they start to have players getting quite weak, and Checkmate ends up using the Death Blossom trying to, save the day as they try and exit. But Atlanta had just kind of played that 50-50 stalemate for so long and so good. And then they were able to get away, but look at this. Surmajet opens things up with a headshot pick.
Yeah, medium range shot there with the kunai. Great connection, but Checkmate also will fall to longer range damage. And Kai now has that overclock. You're asking for it, Adamo. Up in the air he is, and Kai just picks him off. The Atlanta Reign are going to be able to maintain control for now, and that Kai pick is a big part of it.
They don't have to push forward anymore. They can back up, play from the point here. As if you're Atlanta, you're going to get, probably about even in terms of percentage off of this. This fight should last for a decent amount on the point, but you have that continued rush here to use.
Yeah, Ultraviolet, looking to let that one go pretty much straight away here. Wants the pressure from the front line, needs to be careful, because if he's not healing, then there's not going to be a ton of it going on. Hydron gets caught out again, though. This is looking good for the Atlanta Reign. Now they move into the lead behind that Kiriko ultimate, and they have to hope the sound barrier from OG is enough to answer Marched. He'll be back with a vengeance.
Yeah, this will be the next, really probably the last difficult test for them. So actually, Gator goes in over the top. They're going to sound barrier, trying to catch them off guard a little bit.
Someone's seen better days, but he's been topped back up, and Adamo's going to have a later sound barrier. If the Mayhem want to fight, now might be the best time. Overhead again goes Gator. Hydron aware of it, so he repositions now towards the point, hoping to try and pressure down, but the protection Suzu was in play. Checkmate's able to pull Kai out of the mix regardless, and Hydron is everywhere at once. Nero doesn't even realize he's crept up on him. The overclock's doing some serious work, but the bubble dance doesn't end up so well for Hydron. Gator eventually is able to bring him down, and now it's up to someone with this primal rage. You've got the point under your control.
Yeah, but Gator's going to actually primal. That's the one that I was talking about, as he's knocking players back all over the point here. Now, in favor of the Atlanta Reign, he's going to have some teammates coming back off the spawn. This long, drawn-out fight could be difficult for Florida.
Barter didn't have a protection Suzu available. He also couldn't swift step. He's brought down by Gator, but Checkmate and Hydron are back. And it's now 85 and counting. The Atlanta Reign make it close, but we're into last fight territory here.
And I kind of like the idea there from Gator. You get both primals out, and at that time, you had Kai and Nero alive with you on the point. He's got both of them now, and they both have their ults going in this final fight.
Checkmate got himself into the back line well and truly early. Looking for an opportunity now for a Death Blossom. Does he go for Nero? No, he just takes it to the face. Nero blossoms first and actually catches Martin somehow. Perhaps he swift stepped into that fight. Regardless, the Atlanta Reign, they managed to flip the point back here. And maybe, just maybe, Checkmate is punished for holding onto that Reaper ultimate too long. The first map of this series goes to Atlanta.
And you can see a little bit cleaner there, I think, with Gator in the game. Gator just making, the consistent plays, jumping right on to Hydron, making his life very difficult all throughout. The primal tech is good. And I think, Florida probably came in here, Mitch, like, hey, we get the same opponent as the other day. It's going to go just like how it went. And Atlanta making a statement right off the bat that it is not going to be an easy series.
Can't ask for much more than that from the Atlanta Reign. Gator comes in on the Winston, looks really quite solid. Eye test and stats included. Nero's Reaper, though, head and shoulders above the rest. So important to have that consistent piece of damage firing on all cylinders, and you better believe Nero is in the thick of the action more often than not. Good start here for the Atlanta Reign. The Mayhem now need to recalibrate themselves to this different lineup their opponents are bringing.
I'm back strong. at him, I'm back strong.
It would appear, ladies and gentlemen, there's much more to the Atlanta Reign than meets the eye. A roster mix-up coming into this survival match. And Gator turns up in a big way on that first map, playing the Winston pretty darn impressively.
And I guess if you're Atlanta, because we were talking a little bit about this morning, and just kind of when we got the lineups, and it was like, is this the right type of move, right? Because you announced ages ago, now Hawk is going to be your tank for the rest of the season. We're going to roll with him on every tank, right? Hawk plays tremendous throughout the entire season, right? It's not like we ever saw like real dips in Hawk's play. And then make the swap at this moment. I think if you're kind of just like, the viewer, right, you probably just have to, keep faith in that Atlanta coaching staff and Brad, like they know what they have in their players. I also think the Gator, it's kind of like a no-lose scenario, right? Because you've already lost to this team 3-0. So like what would happen yet again, right? Like what's the worst case scenario? Is, maybe this meta just wasn't for you and you're kind of out, but put in a player who, historically has always played those main tanks and played them in compositions and metas like this and see how it goes. And maybe a little bit of a change up after, the other day gives some momentum to the team, right? A little jump start, so to speak.
Absolutely. Something a little fresh here as well, maybe just to allow them to recalibrate a little bit after a very tough start to this playoffs. Florida Mayhem, they lose that first map, so they turn around, they select Eichenwalde for our hybrid battlefield. And again, we're talking about tank selection. We may see Hawk later in the series if we head to something like Circuit Royale, for example, where Sigma may be more desirable, just like we saw from San Francisco, for example. But for now, no changes to either of these rosters. Gator, as you saw on the stage there, remains in. You can tell he's serious because the blue cap's off his head and on his table. He's here to game.
Is that how you know, where he takes his hat off?
Yeah, he's worn that darn thing all season.
Okay, sure, whatever you say. How scared do you think Florida is right now? Maybe not scared, but like worried, right? In the sense that you beat this team the other day. Now you come in, they got a new player in the mix, and you lose map number 1 in an eliminator. How worried are you if you're Florida?
Well, I think you're less worried, maybe more frustrated, because you probably can't get a real read on this Rain squad right now. Especially Hydron is constantly being in check by Gator. You watch him, we see his POV in that first round. He's forced to slide early and often, sometimes into OG's boop into the well, sometimes just into enemies in general. He's being forced to put himself in some risky positions to avoid just getting flattened by Winston and shut down by the bubble. Gator's done a great job of just neutralizing him. He's Florida Mayhem's, he's one of their biggest weapons here, and if he can't function, it's hard for them to stay in step with this Rain squad, especially with Kai smiling from ear to ear on the other side.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Gator's doing anything flashy, right? Not like kind of coming in and looking like Smurf per se, but like just playing the Winston role in a way that he's just trying to take or make Hydron's life extremely difficult. And you think if you can neutralize the Sojourn's effect, you have a pretty good chance in this series.
Florida having to fold back a little bit here as Gator's been probing. You can see his health bar. He's actually able to get out alive, which is huge. That's great for Ultraviolet. He'll top him up and get him back in the fray and hope to build to that first Kitsune rush when things start to get a little bit hectic. Hydron as well. Okay, he's on a flank here and he's used his mobility and he's in the perfect spot to catch Gator. Checkmate also runs into that. Winston's able to pick him off. Hydron again finds himself, in a sticky situation. Kai roundhouses him.
I was wondering if you could fight this, if you're the Atlanta Reign, but now that you've lost your Reaper, I don't think you can as effectively. I think if you would have had Nero stay alive there, you actually could have came back rather quickly, and maybe you're actually able to kind of catch them, further up at the choke and make a play for it. But Kitsune Rush already here.
I'm surprised someone gives space even without Reaper on the battlefield right now. But maybe it's all part of his plan because he seems to have lured OG into his trap. It's a trade though, and Kai's able to get the better of Hydron for the second time in a row. Ultraviolet tries to run away, but that's the lion's share of the healing now taken away from the Atlanta Reign. But someone gets caught inside the PC shop. That's not what we mean when we say check in PC, ladies and gentlemen. Florida able to outlast though, because Checkmate and March it stand.
Yeah, and even with that Kitsune Rush coming right around the corner from Ultraviolet, and Atlanta actually making a pretty good play for the point. No progress gained. Pretty slow here for the Atlanta Reign at the start. This Florida Mayhem, you'll have your sound barrier here, and you'll have your Death Blossom. That'll be the overclock early there from Kai.
Gator makes the first jump, but he's caught out of position as we see someone make the counter engagement. The Mayhem are waiting for Gator to try and go after Hydron, and that's when they strike. Hydron being pressured once more by the aforementioned. This time gives him a parting gift, that's right. Railgun catches him, and Nero finds 2. Into the hunting lodge he tries to go, but Hydron posthumously is able to catch him inside that disrupt the shot. Now Kai needs to make the flanking play, but his team is gone. He's going to find himself up against the wall.
And Checkmate has gone, he has gone unmarked by the opposing team. It feels like every kill in the feed for the Florida Mayhem is Checkmate, just running around, kill after kill, just finding these targets low. The DPS passive is like massive for Reaper, right? Reaper really struggles with like that movement speed and being able to reload faster and get a little bit of a movement speed buff. You can see how the Reapers start chaining these kills together. Not good for Atlanta. It's going to be Kai dropping off the rip.
Hydron flips the script and actually gets the first pick this time. Florida were winning the fights, even losing him first beforehand. The Animo getting caught there, not great, but look, the mobility not as important for Florida because they're backed up against the back of the point as it is. OG getting zoned away by Hydron. That's a fantastic disruptor shot. And look at Gator. He's caught away from the rest of his team. Easy to drag down by the rest of the Mayhem.
Yeah, and I think right now, you're seeing the Atlanta Reign so split from each other, right? Gator on like a little bit of a flank and off angle, he gets taken out. It's just like that. 30 seconds on the clock here for the Atlanta Reign. They made no progress here on point A. It's been all dominance from the Florida Mayhem.
All the coordination we saw in that first map seems to have evaporated for the Atlanta Reign. They cannot get Gator matching up with the rest of their dive. And there's a Kitsune Rush on board for both sides. Look to the Reapers here to make a big impact in this fight. Front line standing tall is going to be crucial. Martin trying to play from the back line here. The healing on someone is good and he drops. It removes Gator. Checkmate lunging forward, but Nero catches him there while he's in that Death Blossom. Nero getting close to his ult, but it may not be a factor in this fight. Hydron needs to double back here, going for the overclock, and what a connection! OG falls straight into that railgun. The sound barrier definitely helps the Mayhem hold out. It is a shutout of the range here on Eichenwalde.
Yeah, it's not able to get in front of Hydron. You see how much space he has when we go to his first-person POV. And then also Checkmate, able to just pop off on the Reaper. Now, there was one moment where we were talking about Gator using the Primal Rage, and he actually had to use the Primal Rage a little bit earlier than I think he would have liked, because what happens is he's like around the corner by the pillar, and then Checkmate comes flying around and uses Death Blossom. And Gator's got one of two options, right? It's either pop Primal, live, and get out, or, just kind of stand there and die, right? I mean, he's just going to eventually die to the Death Blossom, the damage. He actually uses the Primal and, starts to try and almost, get him out of the way, but doesn't have the Primal that did knock around Hydron in the back line, and that's when Hydron is able to pick up, 2 kills during that fight and win it for Florida. So just those little things like that. Primal is such a big ability from the Winstons, right? The ultimate to be able to just displace the enemy, Sojourner, force cooldowns out, whether it be Sojourner or Kuriko. Not to have it at that moment, and really one of your only two options to have that ultimate during an attack there is really difficult for Atlanta.
It's bad beats for Kai as well, Matt. The first 2 fights for the Reign, he's the one that serves him up that elimination on Hydron. He finds the first pick in both those engagements. And still, the Reign can't leverage that player advantage into any capture progress whatsoever. No ticks, no nothing. Now the Florida Mayhem's win condition is so clear. Just 1 tick. They'll be taking this map away. Very quickly, the tables seem to have turned, and Hydron is on the hunt. He wants Kai. He wants him bad. Look how deep he is into the belly of the beast he goes, and he gets away with it. Protection Suzu thrown up there. Hydron now face-to-face with Gator, who picks off Marged. Maybe a little over-eager for the Mayhem in that fight.
Yeah, I would say so, right? Coming flying around the corner. He does get Kai weak, but he slides in. They use a protection Suzu. You have to use so many different big abilities there to be able to land that kill, and they don't get it, and then they're just kind of stuck with absolutely nothing. So Florida getting really aggressive early on. Hydron took a huge shot there from Kai. Has to get healed up basically from death, but first fight goes fast for the Atlanta Reign.
See, someone, he jumps there, but he's not engaging, right? He takes some space, but Hydron is still taken down. The aforementioned trying to take an off angle to the left of Kai right now. He just gets picked off. And once you let Kai get started, you're in a lot of danger. The Mayhem now scrabbling to get back in the spawn.
Yeah, I think Florida needs to be careful, right? You're taking these fights fast, maybe trying to build up some ultimates. You're not accomplishing that. You haven't really gotten any target in a zone where you would say they're extremely weak or near death, right? Where you would be a little bit alarmed if you're the Atlanta Reign outside of that first fight with Kai. But other than that, it's been just dominance by Atlanta. You can see it in terms of the ultimate charge game.
Here Kai goes, still very safe, very conservative. He's not playing this left angle that he's standing in right now at the start of the fight, right? He's only transitioning there once the Mayhem are fully committed. He's sitting right at the back of his entire formation, not wanting to get picked off for free. Disruptor shot thrown down on the Mayhem. Looks like they're pretty clear about wanting to stay around here. Marged doesn't have the Kitsune rush yet. Ultraviolet going to use it straight away. Sound barrier from Anima. Was it going to be enough? Primal Rage inside a computer shop here. Hydron eventually brought down and Checkmate in a compromising spot to say the very least here. Well, under 2 minutes left and Checkmate tries to go for the Death Blossom here. He's able to find 2 kills, make it 3. Somehow he's able to catch Gator. Unreal! Now he's in a position to do some real damage. Kai goes down, Ultraviolet follows. The Atlanta Reign tip the king because they've seen Checkmate come in hot and heavy.
And I feel like Checkmate is really the big difference between these two teams on this map, because Atlanta's D was looking pretty good there for a bit, Mitch, and then once the Reaper for the Florida Mayhem got in position, right, we see him being Primal Raged basically to death in a corner, uses Wraith Form to get out, and then once he gets in towards that back line, he is just dominance there from Checkmate.
In a matchup of superstar Sojourns, incredible hit scan players, so far, it's been all about the Reaper guy. Both Nero and Checkmate in back-to-back maps having outsized impacts for their teams, and that's not even counting playing inside those Kiriko ultimates. What a crazy run there for Checkmate at the end of the round when his team was well behind. It looked like the harebrained attempt to go for the Death Blossom, but it paid off, and that's why he's there, and that's why I'm here, ladies and gentlemen, and you need to stay there. We're going to be back with map number 3 after this.
That's one.
time for week 2 of the Summer Showdown qualifiers.
Everybody's been beating everybody. The upsets have been in full swing. You have to kind of bait to walk forward though, because even if you want to blade here, first of all, he's outpaced the supports, which is very nice, not just Becky here. Importantly, you have to get past the Rally and the Sound Barrier, but you need to make sure that Valiant are committed in a way that you can chase them down.
Okay, this time he does not wait to pull the blade. He pulls it immediately, and it's 4 swift kills in the blink of an eye. Zest is shutting him down. That's half the time bank now drained away as he nearly comes up
forward
with the team kill. And they're looking for some more.
Becky got
You're going to be able to take that
forward.
one. Yep. He yoinks him right
sick.
back out into the open.
Monk's gone. Zest being the one to take them out. There's Fury's Doomfist coming into the fight. Lee
Gaga might
hiding
have
at the
to
back with the overclock. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything here.
Where's
Gaga's
Gaga?
going to have to expend that. Wait, Jinmu just took out Aim God. Jinmu again finds Fury? Jinmu's keeping the team alive. Zest takes out Leave. 20 seconds remaining. This is going to be one hell of an assault coming in from the Hunters. They got Gaga's Rampage. If Gaga goes down, this is going to be disastrous for them. They might not make it time. Jinmu is back in this fight again. They cleaned it up. They didn't even have to use that pivotal ultimate, and they're back on their points.
I mean, goodness, Jinmu really clutched that fight.
Figured out how to break the meta even further. It turns out all you need is a profit on Brigitte. Blade now going to be pulled out. Nisha taken down by Finn. The bomb will even get involved. The coach gun to take out Jinmu, and it is such a swift cleanup.
Did you see a Sound Barrier? Because I didn't. I think that was an Ajax from Nisha, sadly.
I think he got Ajax.
Oh, here it is. Oh, what a boom!
And what the hell was that? Vinhane moving him further up into the air and then dragging down.
Just give him the trophy. Just.
They win. They win the season. It's over. We don't need to play out the rest of it.
I don't care anymore. Vindame is the Rookie of the Year.
Rally out from Irony. The ante from the Rampage only catching 2. Bernard, a little bit of pressure, but now can be healed. An Architect finds Fitz. Blade pulled out immediately. Gets in, finds Prophet, finds Smurf, and it seems like we are not done yet. Architect
huge,
picking up 4 eliminations with the Blade itself. Otherwise, I believe just completely aces the squad. And that is going to be the cap now on to point B.
When the Sigma comps were a thing, you would either take 2 fights, like fight on the first corner and then fight on the last, but a lot of teams just held on this last corner before this point. Oh, Victoria, 13 HP, someone pack him, please. Oh, no, that's so unlucky.
I feel like this,
dude,
this map...
Look at him go!
I mean...
Like, look at this guy go. Like, 5 kills, just like that in a blink of an eye, quick team kill. This guy's just, he's a freak on the sticks, man.
Take a look at Proper from his POV. 1 dash through 2. Yeah, I mean, this is just... That's just filthy stuff.
The ultimate's coming out, Primal, and a Nano Tactical Visor. It's matched by Merit, and shut down just as quickly. Hydron with the 4K!
Call that one a 5K, Lemon. The American Tornado spins up and gets those Houston Outlaws out of here. You can go all in, but I hope you got insurance against the weather, baby.
Oh,
that's
it's
huge.
nasty! 4 players hit with a Bionic Grenade and the follow-up. Oh, it's there. They'll rue the day. Let RuPaul into your backline. Snuck in the corner there.
No way! Animo booped the duplicated Winston.
The sleep into the pond.
The broom comes out of the mayhem. Sweep them away. Unbelievable! Well, everybody, looks like we have a bit of a game on our hands now. Perhaps we were singing the praises of this slightly retooled Atlanta Reign squad a little too early, because in Eichenwalde, there was a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it was a strong showing from the Florida Mayhem on their map pick. I also think a little bit of a wake-up call, right? The losing map number 1, like, hey, this is not the same Atlanta Reign we played the other day. This is a win or go home scenario. We need to turn up. And Checkmate definitely did in map number 2.
This was unreal. 10 final blows for 3 deaths. A good portion of those coming in that very last fight. Checkmate not really putting himself in the spotlight early on in the round, but absolutely helping punish Gator, who was trying to engage, trying to continue this trend of pressuring Hydron, but it's a different map. Hydron has much safer pockets to retreat to. On defense, Eichenwalde, and sometimes Gator would find he's just jumped and all of a sudden someone's gone over his head with the rest of the Mayhem and are engaging on the Reign. Florida on the same page when it came to their counter dives in a big way, and that's so crucial. When you're playing Winston comps on defense, you have to be on the same wavelength. And the Florida Mayhem, they look like a well-oiled machine there. This is what, I mean, this is really the fruits of this team's labor all through the season. A team that was doubted by so many. They've come together at such a crucial time. They've evened up the series now as Route 66 will be the Phoenix pick.
I mean, look at the team like the Florida Mayhem and London Spitfire, right? Like, nobody was picking these teams at the beginning of the season to go deep, you know, into our playoffs. I mean, hell, even qualify for the playoffs, right? Just tremendous showings from, you know, those two teams. We got one of them in the series here with, you know, Florida Mayhem starting to get things going in the right direction. Route 66, an interesting map choice here from the Atlanta Reign. A little bit more space, a little bit more open. Maybe they feel like this allows Kai to get things going a bit more.
Atlanta definitely looking to leverage that part of their arsenal, as it was pretty critical on Eichenwalde, at least in terms of starting off the fights. It's a matchup we get really excited about, seeing Kai pitted against Hydron, two players that have spent many years honing their craft as long-range hit-scan players. Sojourn fits their styles so well, and we're seeing them quite often go to battle with each other at the start of these fights. I mean, let's think back to like one of those, the first fight on Eichenwalde with the Florida Mayhem just sent Hydron, and he dove into the Atlanta Reign, backed up, of course, by Majid on that Kiriko. It didn't work out, but you can kind of see the game plan. Take Kai down at any cost.
And what's your opinion here on this? Because I think this is a map that it's probably a lot harder to play the Reaper on. I mean, you're still going to play it, right? But just harder than a map like Eichenwalde, right? Like Eichenwalde, a lot of different, you know, area of the map that you can kind of get behind cover, you know, use different routes, the TP. Route 66 is, you know, obviously not Junkertown in terms of wide open, but it is pretty open. The areas where the fights take place are more lengthy, you know, choke points, where I think it could be a little bit harder to get value out of Reaper in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, the flanking routes aren't exactly as plentiful on a map that's more sort of, you know, singular level. Of course, Big Earls is a factor here, but trying to obscure your position as Reaper can be difficult. Sometimes that's why teams don't play forward and actually hold Big Earls to give a decent flank angle to their Reaper, who can head up to the cave on the right-hand side or flank behind that sign. Hydron hears this. He hears Nero teleport into what we believe is the lower level of Big Earls. We see him there in the wireframe. So Hydron very aware of when the Reaper may come knocking.
Yeah, a Reaper, not the most silent, sneakiest flank hero with his teleport, just screams like.
What gives that away? Yeah, exactly.
Just gets right on the other side of Big Earls, but no, Atlanta's gotten a decent amount of payload progress here. You know, before this fight is kicked off, like Florida's had to back up numerous times where, you know, you lose this, it's going to be a one-fight point A take, which is great for the Atlanta Reign.
So I'm looking for the counter dive here from Florida, right? They're giving a bit of ground. They're allowing the Reign to potentially overextend themselves.
I mean, there it is. They almost have the payload home.
But there it is. They eventually able to carve Gator away from the rest of the Atlanta Reign. So their patience really pays off there, man.
I am more of a fan of seeing that earlier fight. I mean, here's going to be the continuing rush here from the Florida Mayhem. So you actually have to use this ultimate, you know, just to be able to live and maybe solidify the fight in your favor. They're going to have to back up now. I mean, how do you like that passive play now that you've burned that ultimate, right? They're coming back with, you know, both support ultimates, and the payload very close to completion. Oh, that would have been a big shot.
This is a problem, big problem. Hydron has to now face Nero 1 versus 1 for a time. Yeah, the entirety of the Mayhem, or at least half of them, have to double back, and that allows Kai to find checkmate amongst the thinning mass of Mayhem players. Now they're being stretched across the map here. Atlanta can now start to poke at some of these weaker extremities and start to punish this. Okay, Kai. Looking like a very nasty mural on the wall of Big Earls there.
It's go time.
And this is massive from the Florida Mayhem. You're able to stay alive on the payload while someone is juggling Kai inside of Big Girls, gets him out of the fight. I believe you had Animo and Checkmate there able to do so, stay alive for a period. If you're able to hold this here, it's because you were able to just stall that out for a while.
All right, OG down. Crucially, Gator is still in play here. He can be healed up by Ultraviolet. Death Blossom, though. Checkmate is the cactus upon which the rain fall. Perfect. He catches him with open arms, and the Hellfire shotguns go to work. Great turnaround there, considering that, Margin not really in the picture through much of that fight. Someone gets picked off because there's not enough healing, and still the Mayhem hang on.
It's so difficult. I mean, you see, no, it's really just Kai and someone inside of Big Girls. There's a few players alive for the Atlanta Reign, still in the cart trying to get it over the line. It's so close. But, Reaper, in terms of, obviously he gets a life steal from doing damage. Wraith form to be able to live for a little bit longer, be invulnerable. And then Animo on the Lucio, so slippery to hit, they're not able to get those players off the point.
It's Foxy is on. The Mayhem are on the rush here, paving the pink road as they charge ahead. And again, it's Checkmate leading the charge. Where's Gator going to go? I mean, down to the end of the chasm by the looks of things. An hour, 23 seconds left. The Atlanta Reign have to come up with something real quick. These two support ults are going to be absolutely essential.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have sound barrier for Florida Mayhem and Animo. I wonder if you decide to get aggressive behind this, or you try and force this fight. Atlanta Reign trying to go in. They're going to sound barrier first.
Yeah, both teams actually end up getting the beats off there. OG really wants to get this fight started up. Kitsune Rush thrown down and a disengage from the Mayhem. Look at them spread out here.
Trying to wait it out.
This might expose them though to getting picked off, but Hydron uses the space to find a kill on OG. Not too shabby, but Ultraviolet turns up and those Kunai are going to work, shredding through the Florida Mayhem. And it looks like those double support ultimates are the difference maker in the end.
Yeah, have that extra support ultimate was key. Florida Mayhem, I actually really like how they play that, though. They end up disengaging, like you mentioned, and they actually jump right in. And I think what they're trying to play for, I mean, you lose, I believe you lose Animo really early at the hands of Ultraviolet. What they're trying to play for is someone getting that primal rage. As we see this from UV's POV, is, yeah, he's able to get Checkmate and Animo. But they're trying to play for there is if those two players can live, those were the two players key installing the previous one out. If those two players can live, someone gets primal and they keep that going. That's what they're really trying to do with that disengage.
Oh, that was dangerous. Lining up on the stairs like that. It's an easy railgun shot for Kai to send a killer. Checkmate's gone down and primal rage here from someone. To what end? I've got to ask. He goes deep, should be able to climb back out and join the rest of his team, but Gator is sowing disarray in the backline himself.
Yeah, someone has to bail. I mean, he is so low. He actually goes back and gets the mega health pack. I think he's almost behind Big Earl. It's overclock both teams. Oh, that is clean.
Fantastic. Hydron was probing for something just like that, but Nero prefers the more brute force approach. No finesse required as he spins to win. Checkmate, though, is going to get away with this. I can't believe it. Makes out like an absolute bandit. Slams down that Reaper ultimate, and the Reign do not have the ability to get away.
Checkmate is so happy he is not playing tank anymore for the Florida Mayhem. So he is able to just do stuff like that. Looks like Nero, he gets that one kill. Looks like he's gonna, make it out with his life. He's got Wraith for. He's just staring down Checkmate with the Death Blossom there. It's nothing he can do. Not able to survive long enough past that. But Atlanta trying to do a little bit of a, they're trying to be a little bit sneakier, right? They get in towards the saloon. It gives them options to go out the backside, come back out the front. Just making Florida guess a little bit.
Doesn't take much to slow the Reign down though. Disrupt the shot, throw the doorway. The Mayhem are savvy to what the Reign are trying to pull off here. Suzu already used here by Ultraviolet, so the Reign have to come up with something and do it soon.
Might have been trying to bait, whether if someone would have jumped down, they could have Kitsune Rush and just charged it down really quick. I think they were trying to bait them in there.
How do they line up a good Kitsune Rush now? Look at the Mayhem. They're playing the high ground here. They're playing really quite sparsely and safe. They're going to go for it anyway, though. Sound barrier here for the Florida Mayhem, but Hydron is king of the hill for the time being. And he looks down upon his subjects with a glint in his eye. Ultraviolet will join Gator up on the high ground. Suzu deployed. Now the sound barrier comes out for the Atlanta Reign. That's a huge advantage for them in this fight, but they can't get to someone. Hydron's able to pick off Gator, because Gator eventually has to leave him alone on the high ground. This guy a consistent thorn in the side for the Atlanta Reign, a superheated one. Of course, as those railguns ring out, and the Florida Mayhem stop the Reign in their tracks.
is it just me, or it's a really bizarre offense there from the Atlanta Reign? And I say that because they actually almost like get that second checkpoint. It just felt like they didn't really win any fights, right? I mean, Florida gave up so much payload progress for absolutely nothing at the start, and then just kind of held it right before for the entire time, pretty much. It's one fight that goes Atlanta's favor there, and then once the gate opens, it's basically one fight that goes Atlanta way there, and then it's just all Florida mayhem. Just, you know, when you see an offense that's so one-sided in terms of fights, typically you don't see the payload obviously go that far. Like, you would have seen it, you know, just end before that A checkpoint. But Atlanta is able to get a lot of free payload progress and then take advantage of that.
Well, you kind of hinted at this map selection maybe being something to try and cater to Kai. But he's not able to have impact at all. This is Checkmate turning this fight around, by the way. Look at how low his health is. Look at how low it is. Unreal. Talk about, yeah, flipping the script on the Atlanta Reign there. They thought they had Checkmate 6 feet under at that point.
He was awesome on Eichenwalde here again on Route 66.
Observers, do you have to...
They look like teeth.
Yeah, you can't unsee it. You cannot unsee it now.
I mean, I've seen it, and I can unsee it.
I was just reminded, though. Again, Kai, one final blow, 5 deaths on that attacking side. He isn't able to find the angles to punish. Hydron having a lot more success on the Sojourn, having a lot more space to work in.
To be fair, it was really one-sided. You know, Florida ends up giving up basic, like they almost give up all of point A right off the rip, right? The cart makes it like all the way around Big Earls. It's not like there was like some, you know, fight win early on, like in a scenario like this from Atlanta, and then movement. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be Florida. They're going to get the payload moving right away, it seems. So I don't expect anybody on Atlanta to have like amazing stats, because really it was like just 2 fights that went in their favor. Florida really otherwise complete control of the game here on Route 66.
Really odd engagement there from Atlanta. I think after they lose the first play, I think it was Kai that fell. You see Gator is pretty much resigned to the fact the fight's over. He's like AD strafing, trying to right-click a Sojourn from like medium range. You're like, oh god, if he gets caught here.
He takes so much damage. I think like he doesn't want to jump right in towards Hydron, but he ends up just getting right in like checkmate space. So he takes a ton of damage and has to back out. And then Nero is like kind of left in no man's land. He dies.
That is
things not looking good for the Reign.
Animo is Giga Brain. He actually positioned himself so we can redirect Gator on that dive there. Gator cannot touch Hydron. Hydron again, his teammates allowing him to keep Gator at arm's length, where Sojourn really thrives. You watch Gator, you watch how much he is struggling to get on his targets, and it's not because of a mechanical deficiency or anything like that. Is that the Mayhem know his game? They know exactly how to protect Hydron for this constant Winston pressure.
Kai gets a huge pick there. You know, Surmajet had the continue rush, so you're not going to have that here for a fight at the choke. And Florida looks like they want to press the issue anyway.
Checkmate had his Death Blossom, doesn't opt to use it there. The Reign are forced apart with the key ultimate here.
I was going to say, is that worth anything for Florida, right? You know, they end up using nothing and just pushing in, and you know, just the threat of them continuing to fight that. It was really just, when we're watching from Kai's POV, just someone in Checkmate who actually like kind of like push forward and look like they're going to get aggressive, and that gets the Casino rush out right away. Where now I feel like Florida has a big advantage. They really need, what, 2 fights, and that's it.
Gator quickly takes to the skies as the Mayhem again mass their troops. Hydra there actually getting a bit of a stay of execution there, as it seems that Nero backed away. Kai goes down before the sound barrier can even be a factor here, and that's a swift step away by Ultraviolet. Leaves someone free now to find anybody and start to give them a bit of a tickle. This is very good for the Florida Mayhem here. They do use both of those support ultimates, but it's house money for them after the Atlanta Reign had made use of their support ultimates just prior.
They have a ton of time too. A ton of time here for the Florida Mayhem to be able to take this point. That'll be a disruptor shot right in the choke and an overclock from Hydron on the high ground.
Gator, primal rage, doesn't really offer him very much solace at the moment, as much of that health already stripped away, and someone's able to connect with Kai. Looked like that was at range after Hydron had done much of the groundwork there. And Gator, unfortunately, is going to be lifeless as he touches down. But Nero now trying to make the gambit, only the 1 kill from him with that Death Blossom, and eventually he'll be brought to heal as well. The Florida Mayhem light years ahead of the Atlanta Reign, and they'll snap this one up comfortably. Florida go up 2-1.
Yeah, and although the Atlanta Reign almost get that second checkpoint, they made good progress, it still felt like that entire map was all Florida Mayhem. And you see, some nice shots from Hydra on that range, and then the follow-up from someone with the Winston right clicks, being able to do some long range damage, and then Checkmate getting in the mix. 3 players playing lights out for Florida.
12-4 for Checkmate, 10-3 for Hydron. Again, it's the elite DPS line on the Florida Mayhem that pumps out some serious numbers, but you got to hand it to this squad. They are on the same page. Getting away with a Winston composition on defense is hard for even the best teams, but the Mayhem have it on lock, and they're threatening now to send Atlanta Reign home.
us a multitude of different looks, and someone is helming all of them. This guy can do anything.
What? Someone already worried? Excuse me, that's not allowed. Is he in a luge? What is this? Cool runnings? Sorry.
Someone just slurped up proper on the way through. There's like someone just bolted a bloody hyper-powered Dyson to the front of him as he charges through the middle of the map. I mean, someone has to yeet the spaghetti. Someone was just able to follow up, clean him up indeed. Someone going to flatten Yurio here, and Dallas Fuel get absolutely Goomer stomped in this first fight. Someone trying to clear a few mines. He's very, very low, but he catches Violet still somehow.
When it comes to rookies, I think someone is someone that we're really going to have to start heavily considering as one of the best.
Hopes were high for the Atlanta Reign at the start of this season. This infusion of talent really getting people excited, but on the other side, the Florida Mayhem definitely underrated by everybody. And of course now, the error of our ways has been exposed. Look at this. Someone pretty insane play on Route 66, backing up his DPS actually in a huge way, opening up so many opportunities for Checkmate, for Hydron to get in there. This team is absolutely stacked, and I can't believe it's taken us so long to realize.
It's crazy, right? He's been such a talented player for the entire year. It's like when you do the roll stars, right? You're like, you wish you had like just more roll stars to give out. But I think someone is.
I don't. McGravy's already frothing at the mouth on Twitter, Matthew. Don't give him any more ammo.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, it's more fun to give him more ammo. Let him go crazy on Twitter. If someone's a player who he's going to be in that conversation for, you know, his entire run as a player. He's just being able to pick up all of the different tanks in the new 5v5 way that Overwatch is played and be at that level consistently. I mean, how many teams have we seen that it's really kind of hurt their season not being able to do that, right? Florida, they have no worry with him in that slot.
That's something that the Atlanta Reign were touting, that Hawk was going to be able to bring to this team. And yet, for this entire series, including this next map, Hawk has been conspicuously absent. Somebody who's been thrust into the MVP conversation, the Roll Star conversation, you name it, over the course of the season, is not present on this team right now. And Atlanta Reign are hoping that Gator is their ticket forward. But they've got to win out from here. Esperanza is going to be our next map in this series. And this is the last chance for the Atlanta Reign to show us the fruits of a long season of hard work.
It's, how we just talked about how, someone is able to fill all those slots, right? Where it's derailed a lot of teams. Is that going to be kind of the story of the Atlanta Reign, right? They kind of make this play where Hawk is going to be their tank for the entire year. And maybe just at this time with this particular meta, it's just not working out. And to put Gator in last minute's kind of tough. Now, I actually agree with the decision the Atlanta Reign made earlier on. Sure. I actually think that was the right decision to make. It's just maybe at a time like this, is there a way you could have got Gator some more run or more scrim time or, a little bit more experience with the team throughout the year, just in case, right? Because you never know, but still a really rough scenario for the Atlanta Reign to be in this type of position. Like how we mentioned, the Countdown Cup, so a lot of Speedily, a lot of Vigilante, Hawk, Venom. The meta doesn't really dictate towards that type of lineup. They have to change things up completely coming in here and go up against a Florida Mayhem team who already has their number in this tournament.
The Mayhem said that their purpose in coming to Anaheim was to chill and have a good time and eat some Korean barbecue, but now it looks like flaming chicken might be on the menu after all. This team had 3 days to prepare and only a handful of teams as willing scrim partners, and they've turned up now to threaten Atlanta's run in this playoff bracket. Already our teams are clashing now, of course, around the bot. And Hydron preemptively just making a move there to make it harder for Gator to draw a bead on him. He will be scrutinized heavily, and here he goes again.
Yeah, but you see how healthy someone is. Someone just playing inside of that doorway there and just inviting Gator and the rest of the Atlanta Reign around the corner. Looking so low, but nice movement, able to get out.
Tide looking dangerous in the back line, but Adamo's able to bring him down, force feeding him those Cheerios, and the Florida Mayhem come out on top in this fight. they'll clean up and they'll get on the board early. It's a long map, Matthew. It's a slog, but it's a great way to start here.
Good to see you.
Yeah, and it's getting control of that little doorway early, right? Someone is able to put himself in there so he doesn't have to play around that corner. You can put down a bubble and you can use it to kind of strafe around if you're Hydron. And Gator has no choice but to go in, try and make a play. He goes in, takes a big headshot. And at that time, it's someone's opportunity to go. He knows he's got a massive HP advantage.
Kai's down. Hydron's able to find him with the railgun there. Checkmate, though, crucially absent, and Hydron doesn't get this sound barrier. Here's the engage, though. The Rain trying to push in now. Kitsune Rush also deployed by Ultraviolet, who really values that extra healing that he can give over. Someone's forced to go for the Primal Rage here. Marjed does have his Kineko ultimate online as well, and he lets it go. Someone needs to be tended to right now, though. Trying to stumble away from the Atlanta Rain, barely clinging on. That healing coming in thick and fast from Marjed, though, keeping the Winston in the fight. Gator's Primal, though, is on the horizon.
Yeah, the Kitsune Rush is awesome for DPS, but you also see just how much healing he pumped down. I mean, someone was really weak throughout a lot of that, and a nice headshot there from Kai, as that should be able to get the bot going.
This is what Atlanta Rain want. They don't give up too much ground to the Mayhem early here. Nero, in he goes, trying to spin, but Checkmate cuts him down. The Venn diagram of murder disperses, and the Florida Mayhem are back in control.
If you're Atlanta, you got to be able to capitalize that, right? It's even in terms of players. Kai gets that headshot. You got to be able to secure those fights. It's kind of how we see a lot of teams end up winning, engagements, right? With the Sojourn opening things up with an early pickoff.
Good to see you.
Those are the fights you absolutely have to win.
45 meters now. That checkpoint looms large in front of the Mayhem. Just need to punctuate the sentence, and there it is, Hydron! That is beautiful. Full stop if I've ever seen one. Kai silenced instantly, and the Florida Mayhem can double back. The bot does get away from them from a moment here. Cheekily, the Impish Rain have 3 players to try and get it away from that checkpoint, but it will swiftly move back into position.
Enemy down.
Every time it feels like the Atlanta Rain getting a little bit of an opening. It's just the Florida Mayhem. They bounce right back. I mean, look how far they've actually pushed up through this choke and just letting the bot, escorted by one person, get the checkpoint on the other side. They're going to get a large lead here, Mitch, which, we're not even halfway through the game, but it looks very difficult to be able to bounce back from.
Make no mistake, this is a significant lead to have so early in the game, and the Mayhem look to extend it now. Kitsune Rush deployed, but Ultraviolet finds Sir Marjed. Brilliant headshot there with that kunai. Checkmate is forced to back up a little bit there. Wraith Walk defensively used, but someone is still showing discord in the ranks, and it looks like Kai might have an audience with the King, but someone gets taken down. Nero is able to chase him, clip him with the Hellfire shotguns as he hastily tries to beat a retreat. The Mayhem may have overextended themselves here, but Checkmate again comes out of nowhere, hits him with the RKO, and somehow Nero has to try and find a way to survive. Absolutely dominated.
It is always Checkmate and Animo, alive. It was like Route 66. They didn't end up winning that one fight that they were alive forever, but man, this time it feels like Atlanta, they clear house outside of Checkmate and Animo just bouncing around on the bot as the Lucio and escorting Checkmate around, letting them just kill everybody.
The Atlanta Rain are short on options, Matt. They have to throw themselves in and hope Nero can find some value with a Death Blossom of his own. How telegraphed will this be is the question. Nero walking up, he sees someone already try and put himself in between the 2 halves of the Rain, and that's the Death Blossom they were looking for. Hydron gets his slide forced early there.
Hey, bro, I ain't saying a fight is done until I see Checkmate's body on the ground. All right, yep, there we go. Atlanta Rain, they win that fight.
Wait, check his pulse. I'm not sure.
But now what? You're going to get the bot to just back around, almost like the middle of the field, kind of back to neutral, and then you're gonna have another fight. I mean, you're like 3-4 fights in a row away here for the Atlanta Rain. Taking a lead or getting close to one.
Gator's Primal Rage forced for no. Oh, that's devastating. You lose your Winston for hardly any reason. Looks like Gator's trying to go in, but the rest of his team has a completely different plan. He's isolated, brought down. Ultraviolet masterfully able to pick Hydron off here at what must be at least medium range to at least keep the Rain in this fight. Throws Kitsune Rush down, and someone's going to get picked off here. Ooh, the Atlanta Rain, lucky they've got the talent to make up for the blemish at the start of the fight.
But But with what we've seen from them, right, they've actually gotten the first pick in some of these fights and lose them. That time they actually win the fight a bit harder.
Hold the phone. Checkmate. 9-1-1, but it is for him this time, apparently. Only OG falling. Atlanta Reign have a chance to get that first checkpoint here. Finally getting in the game.
And this is massive, right? Being able to get that checkpoint. You know, maybe it starts to get Florida a little bit, you know, anxious. They end up using the Death Blossom there. They get nothing for it. You know, you got double support all coming in here for the Florida Mayhem. So this will probably be the most difficult scenario for the Atlanta Reign. You know, for the moment, right? You know, 3:30 on the clock. You're going to see those come up again. But if you can win this fight somehow, it would be huge for Atlanta.
Oh, the Kitsune Rush gives them all they need and more. Look at those Atlanta Reign support ultimates. Nothing to work with. Not even 2 sticks to rub together. It's the Mayhem that bring the fire and fury. And they keep a sound barrier into the next fight, which may be the antidote to a Kitsune Rush from the Reign. They need to watch out for Nero, though. That Death Blossom, something to be wary of.
You do make good progress, though, for the Atlanta Reign. And you get both support ult, well, you get one support ult out, so Alamo still with that sound barrier. It's just this bot's going to keep ending up back in your territory on your side of the map.
Someone, sorry, he just turns Kai into a bouncy castle. Great there by Margin as well, joining his Winston, getting that final blow. Isolating Kai at the start of the fight is a big deal. Here's going to be a 2k Death Blossom from Nero. Can it stem the blow? Looking unlikely now as Nero has to trudge away, and there is no safe haven for this bringer of death.
And now you get into a scenario, man, where if you're Florida, you can actually complete the map. Primal, Sound Barrier, Overclock, this fight goes long enough where you get a Death Blossom. You know, there's a real opportunity with where you are in terms of meters. You could finish the map, but look at this. Florida actually just moves the bot as far as possible and then just backs off. They're totally down to let Atlanta be the more aggressive. They'll be the one who has to be, you know, proactive in these fights.
Kai, awkward angle here, getting pressured. Can he get enough damage down on someone? Unlikely now with the sound barrier in play. This is getting a little bit messy. A bit of a murder hall erected by the Florida Mayhem. Nero's down, and this primal raid, Kai about to get sent to the circus. Cirque to see you later, mate.
You've had that. I don't know.
All right.
Cirque to see you later. Yeah. You must run out of budget for your ghostwriter here later in the season.
I'm bereft, man. I'm bereft. Make a Patreon for my ghostwriter. Oh, heavens. Hydro. Oh, my!
Oh, that is sick.
That's quite a greeting. Is that common in Portugal? Not sure. Checkmate now is going to just fling himself into this mess and doesn't even have to use a sound barrier. Gator, caught on the wrong side of this one. Getting plugged with those shotguns. Kai's on the Widow. Sometimes exciting. This time, maybe smacks it.
Headshot after headshot. Or, nah. That's the wrong clip.
No, you hide that Ghost Rider? No, okay, bro.
Yeah. I do actually think, though, like, oddly, like, the Widow's the right call here. Like, with this, like, it's just a straight shot down the middle. This, the headshot, though, comes right up from that top.
Hit the showers.
That's a sick shot. That is a difficult shot to hit.
Checkmate looks like he wants to get this done now. That is brutal. 3 kills with the Death Blossom, and the bot is about to get home. The Florida Mayhem will persist to bring their brand of chaos to the lower brackets.
Big win here for the Florida Mayhem. The Atlanta Reign, though, they made it tough, right? Playing a different roster here today than what we've seen from them throughout a lot of the regular season. But still, a really good showing, a better showing than the other day.
Absolutely. Tough matchup against the Seoul Dynasty. Their opponents were definitely prepared for the Florida Mayhem, but it's got to feel vindicating and definitely a proof of concept for this team. I've said it a few times, I'll say it again. A very limited amount of time for the Mayhem to prepare themselves for this patch than their opponents. So they really have to work from that disadvantage. And they didn't expect all that much from themselves coming into this, but they are still alive in this lower bracket, overcoming the Atlanta Reign, a plucky team to be sure, twice. And they've sealed the fate of the Reign. Don't know how many more times you can rise from the ashes this season. This time, they're going home.
And typically we see Florida, you know, some really strong play from, someone, obviously strong play from the whole team. But like pop-off moments from someone in Hydron, but Checkmate was unbelievable in this series on the Reaper. I mean, constantly, time and time again, able to turn the tide in a lot of these fights. Is that is another dimension that this Florida Mayhem team will have as they move forward. I know his Checkmate is going to be a scary opponent for a lot of teams on that Reaper.
I mean, talk about a playmaker. We've already talked a couple of times about Reaper maybe lacking the same level of skill expression than Checkmate would find on something like Genji. But my God, he piloted it with great finesse considering the brute force approach that it often requires. And of course, Checkmate, if we're talking about standout players, is our player of the match. Incredible stuff. And what more could you ask for than your Reaper to be dominating against a team who are shaky with their Winston use, right? Or at least in terms of how they link up with Gator at multiple points across these maps. I mean, if there's anything that's going to punish that, it's going to be this guy.
Oh, and if they can keep him playing at this high a level with the type of play they get from Hydron, which I think Hydron had moments, especially, on our final map here. But really, him and Kai were kind of going at it, toe-to-toe for a lot of the series. Yeah, if you start to get like the Hydron we've been seeing over the Countdown Cup, this version of Checkmate, I think this is a team that can make a deep loser bracket run.
Doesn't matter what DPS this guy is on, he is absolutely rocking his opponents. The Florida Mayhem obviously want to recoup after they lost to Seoul. This is going to help them a heck of a lot in terms of maintaining some momentum into the next round of lower bracket play. Have a look at this. North of 10 final blows per 10 from Checkmate. But many of these kills are coming all at the same time and in situations when the Florida Mayhem are short-handed in terms of players. That's what stands out about this guy. You don't get to see playmaking potential in the numbers, but you saw it via the eye test today. This guy is the real deal.
A big value out of Death Blossom as well, an ultimate that we don't really see a ton of value from, but I think at the moments where you needed a player to step up and make a big play, Checkmate did that consistently throughout this series, whether it was Route 66, Esperanza, Eichenwalde, really just an overall great series from him. And I think as we send off the Atlanta Reign, I think the Atlanta Reign had a really good season. This was a team that I think a lot of people were worried about, like how are they going to adjust to 5-on-5? We didn't see him here today, but I thought Hawk had a really tremendous year, as he was kind of playing all different tanks throughout. We saw Speedily and Venom come in. OG and Ultraviolet, really strong as some rookie support players. So I think the future is still bright with the Atlanta Reign.
Absolutely, a lot of young talent, Matt. Excited to see where they go from here. But for now, two more teams await judgment on this first of our elimination day. Stick around, everybody, for the Hangzhou Spark and Toronto Defiant in their elimination game right after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Butterfinger. Crispity, crunchity, peanut buttery. No one lays a finger on your Butterfinger.
Welcome back to Game Break, everybody. I'm here with someone from Florida Mayhem for the post-match interview. Someone, congratulations, you guys did it. How are you feeling right now? 자, 시작하기 전에 어떻게 이기셨는데 지금 소감 한 말씀 부탁드려요. 어떠신가요?
이게 어제 지고 너무 조금 불안했었는데 오늘 너무 잘해서 이겨가지고 너무 행복합니다 지금.
Alright, after our loss yesterday, I was feeling a little bit down and nervous, but I'm just super happy right now to get the win against Atlanta Reign. And you guys did it in an amazing fashion. Congratulations again. Now, this match against the Atlanta Reign was a rematch of your first match of the playoffs. So, I mean, this was the second time meeting the same team, right? So, did you guys do anything differently coming into the match to secure a win against the Atlanta Reign? 자, 방금 말씀하셨다시피 오늘 경기에서 일단 아틀란타 팀과의 두 번째 만나는 상황이었잖아요. 아무래도 첫 번째 경기에 플레이오프의 첫 번째 경기 리매치였기 때문에 오늘 경기에 임하시면서 들어오시면서 좀 이렇게 특별하게 좀 다르게 한 게 좀 있을까요? 오늘 아무래도 아틀란타를 상대를 하면서
이제 어제 그저께 저희가 호크 상대로 이겼잖아요. 호크가 뛰었는데 이제 그때도 저희가 똑같은 조합으로 이겼는데 이제 오늘도 갑자기 게이터가 들어오는 거 보고 이제 우리랑 똑같은 조합을 하겠구나 하면서 저희는 딱 그때부터 이제 절대 안 진다는 마인드로 좀 더 기세를 가져가면서 좀 더 빠르게 좀 게임을 굴리려고 했던 것 같아요.
Alright, so the very first match that we had against the Atlanta Reign, we sort of used the same comp, and that was when Hawk came in to play the tank for the Atlanta Reign, but we still beat them in sort of the comp mirror match. But today, something different happened. Gator came in, but even when Gator came in, we predicted that we're going to see the same exact thing. So we didn't really lose hope. We were kind of getting excited because we knew that we were going to get the win, and I guess we really wanted to push the tempo to really bring the fight to the Atlanta Reign, and that is how we got the win against the Atlanta Reign. All right, next. Although this match was a 3-1 victory for the Florida Mayhem, I do believe that Atlanta Reign really put up a good fight and really definitely gave you guys run for your money. So if you had to choose a player from Atlanta Reign that gave you the hardest time in this matchup, who would it be and why? 자, 두 번째 질문은 오늘 경기가 3대1로 끝이 났지만은 제가 봤을 때는 일단 아틀란타 팀도 굉장히 끝까지 좋은 모습을 보여줬고 또 굉장한 경기력을 보여줬다고 생각을 하는데요. 썸먼 선수가 보셨을 때 이번 이제 경기에서 아틀란타 팀 쪽에서 좀 썸먼 선수를 제일 괴롭혔던, 좀 제일 경기에 힘들게 했던 선수를 뽑자면 누가 있을까요? 그리고 이유 한 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
제가 생각했을 때는 네로 선수를 뽑고 싶습니다. 그 이유는 이제 제가 어딜 가든 제가 무슨 궁을 쓰든 점프백을 쓰든 어디든지 따라와서 저 엉덩이든 뺨이든 이제 어디든 저를 치고 있기 때문에